Well, good morning, friends. I have definitely been bit by the sewing bug, and I have been busy making aprons and preparing to do some other projects. While we've had minimal snow, it has definitely been cool and incredibly windy, making me want to just hunker down for the winter and get working on projects. I bought enough fabric to make 3 aprons and decided to start with this one. This is my own apron pattern, and I have already shared a 2-part video on this, and I've mentioned this in past videos, but I will link again to the video. And in that 2-part video, I show you how to make the pattern and how to cut it out and how to sew it, all without any other pattern or anything else necessary. It is super easy for beginner sewers, and I have made several of these. This week we are going to be marching into the beginning of winter. Definitely has never been my favorite season, but I've recently, in the last few years, just decided that I would have a different attitude and try to be thankful and try to see the good in all of that. And one of the good things is that this time of year is the perfect opportunity to work on projects. If you're outside a lot during the summer, have gardens and anything else like that, or travel, it makes it really hard to just focus on things like sewing projects or any other project you might have. So that is one of my goals this winter, is to just focus on these projects and enjoy it. Whether it's cloudy and rainy or snowy, I'm just gonna not mind it at all and be thankful for what I do have and what I can get accomplished. The thing I love about this pattern is it is something that you can sit down and sew up in an afternoon. It does, from cutting your fabric out to having a finished apron. Well, it's an afternoon project. They also make great gifts. So if you are looking for a last minute gift for somebody and you think they might appreciate an apron, you might want to give this pattern a try and whip up a nice little Christmas gift for somebody. Over Thanksgiving, I made some spiced cranberries, and I had about 2 cups of those cranberries still left. I had put them in the freezer, but I wanted to do something with them. And so I decided to make up a half batch of the spiced cranberries and make some cranberry cinnamon rolls. So this was kind of just my own thing I was throwing together. I will post the recipe for the cinnamon roll dough that you see me making. But the idea is, and how I did that, there is no recipe for that. You just have to watch and give it a try if it looks like something you might want to try. I love baking. And there is something about this time of year that definitely makes me want to bake even more. I will bake year-round: bread, cinnamon rolls, cookies, whatever. I really enjoy all of it. But there is something about winter and that cozy feel, the good smells in the house, that definitely make me desire baking even more. And I know it's always appreciated. When I told my husband what I was making, he got very excited. And so, in fact, we've already had some of the cinnamon rolls. I had one yesterday evening for after I had dinner. And that was, I knew, because I'm an intermittent faster, I knew it would be something I wouldn't be able to eat again until the next afternoon. So I thought, I'm going to have a cinnamon roll for dessert. And I got to tell you, these things were delicious. I was a little concerned because when I made them, like I said, I'm just kind of winging it. And so I wanted the brown sugar in there simply because cranberry sauce is rather tart, and I just wanted to make sure there was enough sweet to counteract that. I worried that maybe there was too much, it would end up being too sweet and too rich, but it definitely wasn't. So basically I just, made the brown sugar and cinnamon like I would normally do. And then I scooped out spoonfuls of my cranberry sauce and then took an offset spatula and just kind of spread that around. So it was, I didn't really want it to get too mixed up in there. I just wanted it to be kind of on the top layer. And then I just rolled them up. The recipe said that it made 12 rolls, but I kind of just make how many ever I feel like making. It depends on how big and thick you want them. I usually divide my dough in half and then each half in half, and I just keep doing that until I have cut the whole roll up. And I think I ended up with about 16 rolls. I also made a glaze and just a simple powdered sugar. I was going to do a cream cheese frosting, but I decided at the end, no, that would probably be too much for this. So I just did the basic powdered sugar glaze. And once they had risen, I baked them in the oven for about a half hour or so. And when they were done, oh my, they smelled good, they looked good. One thing I always do with cinnamon rolls is I put the glaze on right away after I take them out of the oven. And I do that because the rolls are warm and that glaze kind of just melts into everything, and I think it makes them just absolutely perfect. And they were delicious. The next day I decided to tackle my other 2 aprons, and I decided to just do this kind of assembly line style in a sense, at least for the cutting out. So I just went ahead and cut both of them. I stacked my fabric so that I could cut out 2 apron bodies, and then I went ahead and cut out the straps and the pockets. And for me that day, I had some other things going on, so that kind of ended my sewing preparation day. But the next afternoon, it literally took me less than a couple hours to finish up those 2 aprons, and then I had 3 brand new aprons, which I desperately needed. I wanted to take a couple minutes and just talk to you about quilts. Because I'm in this sewing bug, in this sewing mood, I have a quilt here that it's a quilt top and I need to finish it. When I was at Walmart getting the fabric for my aprons, I looked for batting, but they were out. They didn't have the size I needed, so I'm going to have to wait till my next trip into town and either go someplace else or try to find it. But I have made a lot of quilts over my lifetime of sewing. I really enjoy the process. Unfortunately, I actually don't even have a whole lot to show you. I'm going to show physically. I'm going to show 2 that I make because the majority of them that I've made, I give away. They've been gifts to my grandchildren, my children, and friends and things like that, family members. So I do have a couple photos that I'll show you of quilts that I've made, but right now, and typically when I make a quilt, I just do blocks. I pick 2 or 3 different types of fabrics and I just do basic blocks. I came across this pattern online several years ago. So, we're talking probably 12 years ago, something like that. And it's just a throw size quilt. It's not a full-size quilt. And I really like the pattern. It looked very simplistic. The blocks were made of small blocks and patchwork and strips of fabric. And I thought, you know what? I can do that. I can do that. So for years I had this in my bedroom over a rocking chair. I got it bleached out by the sun in a few places, but anyway, this has always been a really fun quilt to remember making and to just have around. There's something cozy about quilts. My goal now is I would like to start making a few more so that I can just have them around my house and not always be giving them away. This quilt is much bigger. It fits a twin size bed. And again, this is my typical block method. I made this for my daughter Sierra when she was a little girl. So for years this sat on her bed, and so it definitely shows the signs of being, worn down. The binding on the top is fraying, and there's other places where the fabric is fraying, and but that's okay. That's what they're supposed to be loved, right? And this was another great project. Now I did machine quilt this one. Just up and down, nothing fancy. And I did the same with this one. I machine quilted. A lot of times I will just tie them, but I did machine quilt this one and this one. But now this one is the one that I am really excited to finish. This was actually, and I know it probably looks like, ooh, that's kind of wild. Well, it is. It was a scrap quilt. So I decided that I would just spend a little time, and I made this one back in, I think like 2019. And I had just boxes of scrap fabric, and my desire was to see what kind of quilt blocks I could make, see what I could do with all these scraps, and what I could create. And some of them were, I still got threads everywhere. Some of them were pretty simplistic. I decided to make large blocks, so these are 12-inch blocks. And like this one is just the stripes and one little square in the corner, you know, just, I kind of just used my imagination and what I had available to put them together. This particular block is more like a crazy quilt block, so I just took all bits and pieces and whatnot and sewed them all together, laid it out, and then cut out a 12-inch square out of that. Pretty simple. Other blocks like this one, I actually just tried my hand at things like this is a log cabin quilt block. And so I just kind of, you know, first time I had actually ever made those. I mean, I thought about doing more proper type of quilt blocks. I don't know if they're proper, but, you know, more intricate. And I felt like this was a great way to play around with it. So I made a few of these, which are in the quilt. This one is a pinwheel block. Like I said, I just did whatever my imagination and the shapes of the fabric kind of led me to do. And I put it together, made the blocks over the course of a few weeks and just played around with it and really had a good time, a good creative time putting it all together. Just to tone down the craziness of the colors, I used a navy blue fabric for the borders. Again, this was fabric I already had on hand. So I ended up making a quilt. I'll show it to you all spread out. My bed is a king size bed, so it is definitely in length king size, in width not quite so much. I mean, maybe I should have done like 4 more, 5, whatever, another row of blocks to get it a little bit wider, but I'm fine with it the way it is. So now I need to get the quilt completed, and I bought on Amazon, so it should be mailed to me soon, I bought a king size navy blue flat sheet. So that's going to be the backing. I'm going to pick up the batting the next time I'm in town. And then I'm going to end up just tying the quilt because, like I said, the creative process and the fun process for me was actually making all the blocks. And now I just want to say that this is a finished project, and then if I want to go on this winter and make any other quilts, then I'll feel like I can do that. I'm not a person that does very well if I have a whole bunch of unfinished projects around me, so I am going to try to finish this up. I would love to hear from you ladies, any of you ladies who quilt and enjoy making quilts, to share what you've made and you know, anything about quilting. I would love to hear it. I want to thank you all for stopping by my home today and spending this time with me. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and the likes and the comments and all of that. It means a lot to me. I hope you all have an amazing, awesome, blessed week ahead, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.